Welcome back. We're back. Two fans, one Paul. It's been a minute, baby KB. Every year we say we're going to keep going, and we never do. We're busy. I'm going to be a dad of two here in about 2 or 3 days, so we'll see how the season goes. But it's good to be back. Been watching a lot of stuff for Michigan State. A little bit of research on some sleeper teams, so we'll get into all that. KB, how has it been since, I don't know, February, March?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is the best time of year, college football, kicking off, NFL, preseason, all that stuff. Here, especially, right, the temperature starts coming down over the course of the next couple weeks and / months. So really excited for the football season. Yeah, there's a lot of change, obviously. Michigan's off-season debauchery, everything that happened with them. So looking forward to the football season to kind of get back to normal and, hopefully avoiding some ridiculous headlines for a little while here would be really, really nice.
Just part of the podcast, KB. We can't get away from it.
True.
Mel Tucker, and then the whole cheating thing, and now obviously Sharon, and some of your guys downplaying the Ohio State rivalry, which is something else to talk about. I've not one random thought is I saw some weird rule changes with punting. I know it's really random, but
I know Iowa hates it. Because it was
Iowa's special team coach is now Michigan State
about not instituting it.
Yeah, so Iowa's old special teams coach, probably the best in the country, is now at Michigan State, co-head coach or co-assistant coach. But yeah, it seems different. I can't remember what the rules, but you need 5 guys on the line, or there needs to be some kind of 2-on-2 or something like that. I know there's some rule changes. The 5-year rule now too. A lot of people are suing the NCAA. Just lots happened, and all the craziness with portal and whatnot. But if you don't have anything else to say on any of those things, KB, we can jump into our teams, and then we can talk about some other stuff to end off the We're Back pod.
Yeah, absolutely. I figured we'd probably go by position groups / all of these things. I know last year we ranked them. This year we're going to kind of take a similar, not similar approach, but just kind of talk about them in general. So Quist, I'll let you start first. Quarterbacks, right? Most important position on the team. Trailed solely maybe by O-line, because sometimes college QBs, with how bad the O-lines can be, they almost don't matter. But obviously, continuing of Alessio, whatever his last name is, Milivojevic. Let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think the last 4 games of the year, I think he showed he's pretty good. Didn't throw a lot of interceptions. I think he had 7 touchdowns. Kind of he's a gamer. I feel like he's very Connor Cook-esque in how he can stay in the pocket, take hits. So I feel good about him. And then we did get a transfer, the slide merchant himself from Florida Atlantic and UCF, Cam Fancher, lefty. He's like a 5th or 6th year guy. So we have a veteran backup, and then we have Leo Hannon and then Cade Kaufman, East Kentwood kid. But I think it's Alessio's job. I think we all know that. He seems like a good leader, a little bit quieter, and if he can be kind of like that Connor Cook, take some hits, maybe use his feet when he needs to, the receiving core is a question mark. A lot of transfers in, not a lot of size, but I think he can be a gamer, lean on the run game. O-line should be improved. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do when he has the keys to the car. Obviously, Childs is at Northwestern, along with former quarterback. We play like 3 former Michigan State quarterbacks, I think, this year. Noah Kim at Eastern. We go to Northwestern and Childs, and then Illinois' quarterback is Kattenhauser. So that'd be interesting as well. But I think it's Alessio's to run with and lean on the run game as what Fitzgerald wants to do, and then get the ball to the receivers, and athletic tight end from Ferris State should be okay for him. What about you, KB?
And those were all Mel Tucker QBs, right? That were recruited under Mel Tucker.
Leo Hannon might have been a Smith guy. He's a redshirt freshman, so I'm not sure.
Gotcha. No, I'm just thinking that's funny. Is like, obviously spent a lot of time doing random stuff. Same with our coach, but just 3 quarterbacks that you're going to face this year. All 3 were in the program. All 3 played under Mel Tucker, right? So he obviously a good eye for talent during his tenure there, just not really developing it.
Could have been 4 if Sam Levitt went to Oregon too.
Yeah, that's 100% correct.
Dante Moore too, but that wouldn't happen anyway. Let me hear about Bryce. How are we feeling about him?
Yeah, I mean, I think the problems with Bryce are extremely overblown. I talked about it when we were going into the year last year. True freshman 5-star QBs. I looked at the top 5 consensus, 5, like all of them. The only one that put up like really good numbers was Trevor Lawrence, right? Obviously you had some outliers there, but it was really Trevor Lawrence and then everyone else, because when you're a 5-star quarterback, it's usually you're not necessarily like a great quarterback. I know that doesn't necessarily make sense, but like it's more like traits. It's are you big, strong, fast, you can throw the ball a mile. So some of the like football, like footwork and stuff like that was not there last year for Underwood. He also didn't have a dedicated quarterback coach. The offense, I complained all season about the offense. That guy immediately left town to go to Missouri. So I think right now, Underwood had a lot of growing to do, and through his season, through his tenure, and you really didn't see growth of getting the second and third reads, and you really didn't see them going away from that, right? Like they didn't say, "All right, like we see that you're struggling getting to this. We're going to limit the offense a little bit." They're literally like, "Nope, we're still going to do the same thing. We're going to try to have you drop back into a pocket with." We had like 3 lineman injuries at one point in the season. We were on like our 4th string left tackle, and they're still running traditional drop back. I think about the Ohio State game particularly. There's a snowstorm that's going to start in 2 hours, and you decide to run the ball 50 times in the first half and not throw. And then when you're down, you have to throw 30 times in the snow. So, like, I think he was let down by coaching. Now, are we going to have to see the growth on the field? Yes. But I'm really excited to see him. I mean, he has all the talents, all the upside. I think the biggest thing is he going to be accurate down to down? I think there was a lot of times last year where simple, easy completions got away from him and then they're behind the sticks. And it's really wasn't like an inaccuracy. It was just a footwork issue, right? Like if you don't get your feet underneath you, if you try to just arm sling it, the game's moving way faster in college than it is, especially like Michigan high school. No offense, Michigan has pretty decent high school football, but it's nothing, right? Like it's not necessarily the speed of like Texas or Cali or Florida. And so I think that was one of the things is like if he can get his footwork consistent and down, I think his accuracy is going to see a huge jump this year. And so I'm really excited about that. We have Kyler or Fowler Nicolosi or whatever, who is the Colorado State longtime quarterback, as the backup, which last year it sounds like Mikey Keene was going to be the starting quarterback. And just because he couldn't ever get over that injury, ended up like Bryce didn't really have any competition. They didn't have a quarterback coach. So excited year of growth. I mean, I think this offense is going to placate and, be much easier for them. I know they're going to run them a little more. I am still hesitant a little bit on that. I looked at what Devon Dampier's carries were. He had 145 carries last year. He had 4 less than their starting running back. I assume that won't be the case because that was like over 10 carries a game. Wow. I don't think that's sustainable for Big Ten play. But really excited to see how he's grown, right? Like last year, for most quarterbacks, they don't play their freshman year. You don't see them. Any struggles that, redshirt freshman had as a freshman was kept under wraps by the program. So you don't hear or see about it. He had to have all of his struggles on the spotlight. So really just seeing his offseason growth, excited for him. I think he's going to have a really solid year. The touchdown record is always in play. It's like 30. The yards record is always in play. It's like just over 3,000. So I think that there's a reasonable attempt that could be broken this year.
I do think he fits Whittingham's, he's very D'Antonio-esque in how he built Utah out west. I think that could work very well for Michigan. Run the ball, get athletic quarterback that can run a little bit and then get it out to your playmakers, especially your tight ends. If I don't know what you're looking like, usually Michigan has good tight ends, so we'll get there obviously in a little bit.
The offensive coordinator is a little less traditional. Like Whittingham's usually like a undersetter guy, like first tenure, pre this new guy. He kind of ran a more standard pro style offense. This guy came over from New Mexico State with Devon Dampier. So Dampier followed over with him. And it's more of a, wide open. We're going to run the QB. We're going to, get the ball out, RPO system. So I'm excited a little bit to see that. Really just want the strengths, right? Like the O-line should be a strength, running back should be a strength, wide receiver should be a strength. So there's a lot of support with Underwood this year, where last year I think there was less of that, especially by the end of the year, and I think we saw that consistently.
Love that. All right, let's go to running backs. I'll start first. Then you can go, and then we'll change it up when we get to receivers or O-line next. But feel really good about the running back core here. I think Cam Edwards coming from Connecticut might be one of the better, I would say top 2 or 3 running back portal gets this offseason. He's got some good numbers. I think he had like 1,200 yards last year. probably over double-digit touchdowns. I don't know the stats exactly. And then in depth-wise, we got a guy from Western Kentucky, Marvis Parrish, and then Jazuin Patterson from Iowa. I still think we have Brandon Tullis. We still have the kid Clarizio, I think, from East Lansing, unless he transferred out. I think he's still on the team. So like the depth is there. They probably have 4 or 5 guys that could touch the ball, but I think you really lean on Cam Edwards here. He's a redshirt senior. He's got the numbers. I know it's Connecticut, but still, I think he's that guy you can really lean on. Give him 20, 25 carries. Spell him when you need to with these other guys that, like the guy from Iowa is a redshirt senior too. There's a lot of depth and years of playing college football in this room. So lean on the veterans. I think the biggest thing is pass blocking. So that's Tullis out. He's not good at that at all. But I think Edwards, number 0 here, will be fun to watch. I think he'll be a 4 or 5 yard a carry kind of guy. Take the pressure off Alessio, and then spell him when you need to. Looking forward to old school Pat Fitzgerald, very D'Antonio, run the ball first kind of football. So if you haven't watched any of the highlights, Jonathan Smith was very soft spoken, quiet, wasn't a rah-rah guy. Fitzgerald is a rah-rah guy. The guys in the media team are really cooking this year with the fall camp stuff. So obviously I'm a little bit excited. I won't be able to go to the first few games, but run the rock, and then, do some play action. I think that will be the biggest thing for the offense. So fun, a good get with Cam Edwards and a bunch of depth in this room.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has kind of been the story the last couple of years when we talked about this team post Kenneth Walker.
Mm-hmm.
They just haven't had a go-to back, a guy that can consistently carry the ball. They've tried to add portal additions. So do you think, like, because like last year we talked about it, the same thing. Hey, we have all these portal guys. Like, hopefully they do well. This is definitely the best portal guy you've gotten. I mean, 2,600 rushing yards in his career, 3 seasons, over 500 yards, 600, 800, 1,200. Very consistent guy. Looks like to be growing. Is this year where like
O-line should be better
together?
I think the O-line should be better. I mean, that's where it all starts.
Do you think that's kind of been where it's struggled? Like, hey, you've had some fair backs.
I mean, the Kenneth Walker year was him. I mean, the O-line was not good.
Yeah.
I think since Antonio left, the O-line has been the biggest letdown. Smith had time to build that up at Oregon State. Different time of football. I mean, the pressure was on you. It's on you quicker. And I don't think him having any urgency didn't help either. And he wasn't given the time to, have that O-line come through. But I think, I can talk about the transfers that came in. We got a guy from UConn, Trent Fairley. I think the Lions' son's kid from North Dakota State. Keeping one guy, I think Connor Moore. So I think the pieces are there. Sounds like they're gelling well, but I think the O-line has been the biggest thing. And it's crazy to say that Kenneth Walker was already 5 years ago. Yeah, I mean, that's when I did my gender reveal for my first kiddo. Number 2 is around the corner. So it's crazy to think that was so long ago already, KB, when it feels like, it just happened a year or 2 ago. But yeah, the O-line is the biggest thing we need to improve on here.
Absolutely. So I can talk about my running back room. Obviously, big loss with Haynes transferring away to Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're going to be better this year. Like, as crazy as that sounds, Jordan Marshall is returning. He was really good. He was limited the last game and a half due to injury, playing at frickin' Wrigley Field on their ground, and he jams up his shoulder in a game that shouldn't even have been a game, and Bryce Underwood throws 3 picks. It was just an absolutely mess of a situation where they really should have been A-okay, not maybe needed him, and then Cusdale comes in, he tries it against Ohio State. They're throwing directed passes at him when he has an AC joint sprain. He can't even lift his left arm. Like, again, fucking bad coaching, especially on the offensive end. Dude can't even hold on to the ball with one of his arms, and they're throwing passes to him. But he's really, really good. It sounds like he's been back in the weight room. His shoulder's feeling good. And then you have Xavier Hyder. This is a 5-star back. I believe he was the number 1 running back, depending on where you looked. I don't know if it was composite, but sounds like this is going to be a true freshman guy that's already second on the depth chart, going to be one of those guys that hits the ground running. Sounds like he has some really big playability, kind of more of the top-end speed, breakaway speed than Marshall, where Marshall's more of a run-em-down, tough runner, staying up through contact. Hitters make 1 or 2 guys misses. If you can see any of his high school tape, he has an incredible jump cut. He just teleports, it looks like, on the screen. So excited to see that. This running back room is going to be really good. And then you have a guy, Bryson Cusdale, who, look, He entered the transfer portal. I was like, dang, that sucks. I really thought that he'd return this year, try to put up some more tape, and then, in his senior season, go find somewhere that he can make some money. He ends up returning, hopefully doing exactly like that. Running back rooms are notoriously injured. You never are going to have your guys every single week.
True.
So having three guys that you can trust to put the ball in their hands. He's one of those guys where you really question pass protection, which is why he didn't play significantly. They actually had Max Bredesen in at running back at times in the Ohio State game to provide third down protections and stuff like that. So hopefully he grew in that in the offseason. But really fast guy, slimmer. Hopefully he added some bulk onto his frame because he went down a little easy, but that's kind of also the guy he is. But you like the fact that you have three guys that all, two guys that have proven that they can run in the Big Ten, that have had serious games, and then also a 5-star number one recruit in the country coming in, number one running back recruit in the country coming in to add his talent to this room. So really, really excited. This room should go crazy for sure this year.
Where's that 5-star kid from?
Oh, I cannot hear you, Quist.
Oh, we're good. It's me. Where's that 5-star kid from?
I believe Virginia.
Interesting.
Yeah, let me confirm that.
Just curious.
I'm like 99% sure it's Virginia.
I thought it might have been a Ohio State kid. I mean, Clydesdale's a GR kid, which is always cool.
Yeah, Jordan Marshall's from Columbus, so he's the Ohio kid.
That's the Ohio kid. Okay, yeah, he's the bruiser guy. All right. How about we do line, tight end kind of mix? I think the line is always kind of hard to talk about, so I'll throw that to you, KB.
So O-line, obviously last year, it's really difficult to say because there's some highlights in Michigan's O-line play last year. Jake Guanera, who actually met a friend of his family's, that's friends with one of my neighbors, funnily enough. Like, he's been to all the games. He went to the Rose Bowl. So really, really cool to have said that. It was just one of those like small world moments. But he's the starting center. He's really, really good, consistent guy. You like a smart, talented guy to be at your center position. Another year growth, another year strength. Nathan Afobe and Brady Norton are battling it out at right guard position. Brady Norton is the Cal Poly transfer from last year. Came in pretty highly touted from the FCS level, but didn't quite make the transition, had some strength and length issues, and he's fighting it out with Nathan Afobe, who's a redshirt junior. And then Andrew Sprague is the starting right tackle. Sounds like he has that position locked up. Now, left guard and left tackle are kind of the position group that's still getting figured out here, and I think you kind of have three guys that are battling it out. So Blake Frazier, who's a legacy guy, he had to play last year as a redshirt freshman, and he played well against not bad teams, but like lower ceiling athletic teams. So like Maryland, Ohio State, Texas, he really struggled because he just isn't athletic big enough. He needed kind of another year to add on the weight. He played most of last season at around 285, 290. Like I said, like he was third string in the guard or in the tackle department. There was a lot of injuries at that position. One of the guys was Evan Link. Evan Link has now shifted down to the guard spot. He's a bigger guy, like 350 plus, and his issue was it's not that he couldn't, he didn't have the strength, is that he didn't move well enough to consistently pass protect at the left tackle position. So he looks like he's moving inside. And then Andrew Babalola, he was the number one offensive tackle prospect. Last year, he tore his ACL during fall camp. Sounds like he had a good recovery. He's kind of a mix of the two, where he has the athleticism to get in front of the guys and then the strength and skill to actually hang up and block him. So it's kind of a three-person battle. I don't think Frazier's ever going to kick down. Babalola might kick down. So it's going to be interesting to figure out how they do there. I hope it's Babalola. If it's close between him and Frazier, which Frazier's a legacy guy, his dad's, All-American, huge legacy at the school. But Babalola, you didn't pay that guy millions of dollars to come to your school and not play.
Right.
That's part of it too. But like also, if it's close and he's a year removed from coming off an injury, he's knocking off the rust. And if he's competing with you and close with you, just imagine when he gets fully into his body after another, month and a half where he's like, oh my gosh, like it feels good to play football again. So I think that the line is most likely going to look like Babalola, Link, Guanera, Afobe, Sprague. It's a really big line, really athletic line. I really like the look. You do have some guys who have a bunch of starts, like Sprague. He started all last year. You have Guanera, who started all last year. And then you have guys who have experience, who spot started at times, and then really high end athleticism. So this line should be incredible. I think the one question, not just on this line, but on the offense, is obvious passing downs. It was one of the biggest struggles last year of, hey, we can play action pass protect, we can early down pass protect, but when it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 plus, like in those situations where the other team pins their ears back, they're going to run a blitz, they're going to stunt, they're going to let their, $1 million edge, $2 million edge that, is going to make millions and millions in NFL. When they let him loose, can you stay in front and block him? And that's going to be the question, because last year that's where they struggle the most. Go back and watch the Oklahoma game. Like, Underwood had a horrible performance, but like that O line was elite, and Michigan got embarrassed, or their D line was elite, and Michigan got embarrassed at the line of scrimmage. So
Did Babalola, I don't know if you said it, was he the one that got hurt last year, or was that somebody else?
yeah, he got injured last fall camp, so he was battling it out with, I believe it was Link,
Okay.
at the left tackle position.
So he hasn't played
He
ball
goes
in
down.
2 years or a year.
Huh?
He hasn't played ball in like a while.
Yeah.
He'll be rusty,
So-
but he's good. He's highly
Yeah,
touted.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, if it's close and the guy that's rusty, who hasn't played in a year, is as good as you in all these practices going against your defense, right? Like, that to me says, oh, so like once he gets back into playing shape, and he's going to be significantly better. So
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we'll have to watch him. So for our line, we got some transfers in. Left tackle Ben Morawski from UConn, fifth year guy. Left guard Connor Moore, it's a guy you keep. You also have Luka Vincic still, who was a Jonathan Smith guy. He was really highly touted, I think, from Oregon State. Could have been maybe early, first through third, fourth round pick, maybe. So we have some depth there, which is nice to have Vincic. Both guys are 5th-year seniors. Love to see that. Center, Trent Fairley, who I named earlier, Fairley's kid from the Lions staff. He played in the NFL for some time. Obviously, North Dakota State now is FBS, but obviously an FCS juggernaut. Knowing what the FCS what North Dakota State can do, I think that's a good grab. I think he might have been an All-American in the FCS.
In center, Tuquist is like, you don't necessarily need to be like the strongest, biggest, fastest guy at the position. It's really, you need to know all the calls. You need to be smart. You need to get the snap off and some movement and not being a liability. Like, center is an extremely difficult position from the head up. It's one of those ones where like the jump between FBS and FCS is not an athletic one, right? It's can they do the mental side of it?
Which I think we can. Obviously, having Alessio helps. And then right guard, we have Nick Sharp, transfer from North Carolina. I think he was a pretty good get, 6-year guy. So obviously a lot of experience. And then they have, on the depth chart I'm looking at, they have Luka Vincic as the second right guard too. It looks like Vincic might be a guy that can spell people. So when he gets rolled up on or hurt, it's good to have him for depth. Behind him is Andrew Dennis. He's a redshirt sophomore in his 3rd season. So there's a good amount of depth right there. And then on right tackle, we have Rakeem Johnson and Robert Wright Jr., who's a Georgia Southern transfer. So I don't know too much about the right tackle. Obviously not as bad as the blind side and the left side, or not as big as a deal. But if he's there, if he's one on the depth chart on Sports Illustrated or Michigan State Spartans Illustrated, that's good for me. I don't know too much about that side. I know a lot of transfers, a lot of depth. I think Fitz said that we can have 10 or 12 guys that could kind of be plugged in if we need them, compared to, I think, when he took over or when Smith was here, I think we had 8 guys that could be potentially on the field. So obviously we got the depth, we got some good transfers, and like we talked about earlier, KB, the line has been the issue since the D'Antonio era. That's going on almost 10 years ago already. So got to figure it out, got to get the depth, got to bring that back. I don't even know if that's an NIL kind of deal with linemen to kind of keep that the way it is. Whatever that looks like, or just like a pedigree
last
thing.
year, didn't you have issues doing like scrimmages in like spring game because like you simply didn't have enough healthy like linemen to have 2 full teams?
Yeah,
I remember that was like one of those things we talked about. Yeah, I mean, every coach who's smart says we have like 10 guys that can play. First off, bullshit. No, you don't. You have maybe 7. Like it's just the fact of the matter. You have guys that can step in, that know the offense, but like when you have to have a backup right tackle, like if it isn't your one, or like if you have a swing tackle, right? So, he's your 3rd best guy. after that, like no fourth string tackle is gonna block anyone good. Like it's like I love coaches. It's just one of
Coach
those things
speak.
is like, dude, like that's just coach talk.
Yeah.
Because like I heard it with Whittingham too. He's like, yeah, we have 7 guys right now that we really trust. And I'm like, okay, that's believable. We want to get that to 10. In no realm do you have 10 guys that can play. Like maybe the 2017 Alabamas that had 32 5 stars and no one could transfer. But
Right.
in this modern day, I no. Like I
That's
get
fair.
that's the goal. Right? You can't set the site at 5 because the 6th guy would suck then and there's going to be injuries. But like
Mhm.
that's just the biggest load of shit I always hear every year.
Yeah.
Because
Fair
as soon
point.
as that happens and your right guard goes down with injury and the backup comes in and they're like, oh, well, they said they trusted the backup swing guard. And then the next 5 pass plays, there's pressure at the guard position and or a run plays blown up on that side. So I'm not saying that there aren't guys they like, and it sounds
Mhm.
like you guys have a very old line,
Yeah.
which as we've seen transfers, older transfer lines sometimes can gel really quick because all of them have played a lot.
Right.
So again, that's one of those things where that's been the biggest issue. So hoping this year, I mean, they can get some, consistency or at least avoid
Yeah.
disastrous. I felt like Smith's issue, just to talk to you about this, Chris, I want to throw this to you, is like the line was bad. There wasn't much depth, and you ran a lot of long developing plays.
We did.
You ran a lot of 7-step under center drops, play action passes, and it's like it kind of compounded because like you'd have injuries, and then it's like, well, that's our offense. That's how we run it, and there was never that adjustment to be like, hey, we're on our 3rd string center.
I would
Maybe we
agree.
shouldn't keep running plays like this.
Make it easier on your quarterback. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of their philosophy, right? And obviously Childs had the arm for it, but nothing was really gelling. Obviously that's why he's gone. So fair point. I think Vincent could be he's kind of a sleeper backup. I think he could really rotate in. He's been around for a long time. Cool that he stayed. I don't even know if Smith got another job. I think he might be an assistant somewhere. I can look that up later. But let's be really quick with tight ends, KB. I got 3 guys: Jaden Savory, Brendan Parachek, and Carson Golker. I'm gonna shout out Carson Golker, transfer from Ferris. I think he was a Zealand East or Zealand West guy. If you're local, you know what I'm talking about. I think he played QB in high school. At Ferris, he was everywhere. I think he played running back, maybe quarterback sometimes, tight end, receiver. He's kind of a do it everything kind of guy. So I'm really curious to see where they plug and play him. Really versatile guy, super athletic, taller. So I'll give him the ball. I think Savory, he might have got hurt last year, but they have him one. And then Parachek is a redshirt junior. He's been around for a while. I'd like to see Parachek kind of jump him, but that could come down to blocking, knowing Fitz is a traditional Big Ten kind of guy with running the ball. But yeah, I would really like to see Golker emerge here as kind of a surprise rover kind of guy. But let's keep an eye on him. He's going to be number 12. But good depth here. Whoever can block best might be the starter, but lots of ways we can use them with traditional pro style kind of offense, the Big Ten.
Yeah, I forgot to speak about the tight end, so I'll quick jump into them. Michigan loses Marlon Klein, who was a 3rd-round draft pick by the Texans. Seemed like a reach at the time. He had a pretty good preseason game, but high-end athleticism, high-end blocker there. You're replacing him with a couple guys you feel confident in. Jalen Hoffman's a name I want to shout out because he played the Max Bredesen H-back role when Bredesen went down with an injury last year before the bowl game. So that's going to be, just in general, interesting to see how the offense changes with a guy like that. Is there still going to be an H-back kind of fullback usage in this offense? I don't think so. But Zach Marshall, he was the guy who stepped in when Klein was out because he was also oft injured. Zach Marshall, high-end athleticism, really speedy guy. Inconsistent hands last year. He dropped some balls. So that's something that I really want to focus on. Hopefully he's been, catching the jugs machine. And then Hogan Hansen,
Great name.
high-end guy. I mean, a lot of these guys, Michigan tends to recruit 6'6+, 6'5+, high athleticism tight ends, and they just spit them out into the league every couple of years. Very consistent with all of that effort. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The room is definitely going to be looked to be changed. I did watch a lot of Utah offense. They will use their tight ends, but I don't know if they're going to have as many 3 tight end sets, three tight end sets with a fullback. It's going to be interesting to see how different this group is, what plays they're running, what routes they're consistently getting. So I'm excited to see this group, and this offense overall. But this is probably the group that's going to be most impacted by the coaching, and philosophy changes.
1,000% correct. Receiver KB, let's throw it to you. I'm kind of curious how you feel about them. I think, in my opinion, in a while, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Recent memory, I don't know if Michigan's had a true number one guy. He's kind of stand out recently.
Yeah, I mean, Roman Wilson would probably be the most looked at guy. Roman Wilson was, one of those traditional undersized, maybe 6 foot speedsters.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Andrew Marsh having that true freshman season that he had.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't have a reception through the first 4 weeks, didn't play. And he had 650 or so yards over the course, and he didn't catch really any balls against Ohio State. So it was basically 650 yards in 7 games. So really, really impressive from him. He has some after the catch ability. He can, break his routes out. But overall, this wide receiver room is in a much better place. I think this is the year where we finally see a 1,000-yard receiver. Mostly just because Sharon Moore is no longer running this offense, no longer in control of any coordination. As every time he got into a tight, stressful situation, he said, "What if we surprise them, guys, with a dive to the left or a dive to the right?" That was his offensive philosophy. But yeah, Andrew Marsh is one of those guys that you feel like, oh my God, I'm so comfortable having a guy like this that can win jump balls, that can win so many different ways, a true number one. Now, the rest of the guys, I'm going to speak about our transfer guys that have came in, freshmen. There's one guy that's kind of returning, but Jamie French, he's a Texas receiver that Michigan lost out in that recruiting battle. Transferred from here. He didn't do anything his freshman season. Not that unexpected. Right? Highly touted. What?
2 Fs. FF for French, right? Is that you spell
it? FF French.
This is kind of goofy.
Yep. And then you have JJ Buchanan, who came over from Utah. He's a sophomore. He actually was playing kind of in a tight end role in that Utah offense. He's slimmed back down to be a receiver. I believe he's 6'4", 220, which is really big for a receiver. Jump catch kind of guy. Michigan, Cornelius Johnson was like the only tall guy in the receiver rooms a couple years ago. So it's nice to see this last year they've really tried to add size to that room. Then these next sets of guys are kind of going to be the next ones up. You have Travis Johnson, who's a true freshman. He's been making plays all over camp, a lot of camp buzz, really able to high point the ball, big guy. Celesi Moa, who's a really highly touted freshman that came over from Utah, was in the Utah kind of transfer. Him and his brother both came over. And then Channing Goodwin, he's made a lot of plays in camps. He's kind of like where in this room I see is like the consistent guy, like, hey, can I find him on third down, kind of underneath guy that's working in the slot that necessarily isn't burning past anyone, anything, but is consistent. That's what I'm hoping for him. And then Jamar Browder, he's a 6'4" guy too.
Damn,
so there's a lot of size and speed in this wide receiver room. I'm excited to see kind of how all of this works. Michigan has been apt every year heading into the season in fall camp. Well, we're going to throw, like we've been working on throwing. This is the year we finally take the top off the defense, and it's just never happened. One thing I always think of is like, I'm always so impressed how little Michigan gets busts on the defense. Like that was kind of one of the things over the course of the last 3 years, even when they won the national championship, is like there wasn't many like, oh my God, Michigan just had them bust and they have a guy running downfield just absolutely wide open. And so hopefully Michigan can do that this year. I saw that oftentimes in the Utah film when I rewatched it, but this should be a receiver group that's probably the most talented since Nico Collins, Donovan People-Jones, Tariq Black, kind of that group pre-COVID, which isn't to say much. Obviously Nico Collins is a good receiver, but it was a third round draft pick and a sixth, and I think they have that kind of talent. So excited to see how that all kind of pans out. I know you said you have questions with your wide receiver room. I don't even know anyone in your wide receiver room.
Hey, we have a Michigan guy. Come on now, Fred Moore. He's
Or
the
yeah, dude, he got TD 2 years ago.
yeah. I gotta say though, you guys might get that Samoan pipeline too now, since it seems like Utah always had a
I
lot of
was wondering what the pipeline is gonna look like because there's a bunch of them, littered through, especially on the defense and O-line.
big in Utah. I don't know what's that connection there. I know State kind of had a little bit of one when we had Smith and
The
some
Mormon
guys.
Church.
I was gonna say if it was LDS, I wasn't too sure. Anyway, um, yeah, question marks all around KB. Obviously, Nick Marsh goes to Indiana, wants to win. Totally understand. I think Signetti kind of put him in his place already with some stuff going on there. That was early on. I think maybe when he first transferred over in the spring. But yeah, so names that I can look at right now are Charles Taplin and Fred Moore in the X. I don't really have much to say. Moore seems like he's a little bit quicker, not a bigger guy. I'm not sure the size of Taplin. That's the one thing I'm not sure about KB. I think we have a lot of guys that are 6 foot, 6'1". Nick Marsh was a bigger body guy, really good, obviously, going to Indiana and Signetti, but that'll be a loss for sure. And then we got a transfer at the X, Jameel Gardner, Jackson State guy. And the Z, this might there's a waiver pending here for this guy, but he was good. He's a Valdosta State transfer from 2 years ago. Rodney Bullard caught a touchdown towards the end of the season. A couple games towards the end that were pretty good. Speedster, not a big guy, but solid. And behind him is another transfer, KK Smith from Notre Dame. I think he only had a handful of catches to start the season. Kind of a depth guy there, so he might get some more reps at State, which I'm not too sure about. Buried on the Z is also Samson Gash. His brother is also a big name. He might go somewhere else out of Detroit Catholic, but
I
he
think he's
did,
committed to Alabama.
yeah, somewhere down south. And then I think Samson got hurt, and I don't think he played a lot last year. So obviously a little rusty freshman. I don't know if he'll see the field much, but he is pretty. I think his brother, who's younger, is more highly touted. But the Gash, I think there's three brothers that are all pretty solid out of DCC. Slot is kind of where
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just looking, like, I don't know how many career receiving yards in college football your receiver room has.
Crenshaw
Like
McCray's
Rod
our
Moore
only
has like
guy.
160. I'm really concerned.
Yeah.
Like more so, like I know obviously we know what the offense is going to be about. Limit the turnovers, play conservative football, punt, play good defense, limit penalties. It's going to be the same thing he did at Northwestern, right? Like I'm not going to be surprised that if they're not pushing the ball down the field, but like it might be like we can't throw passes with this wide receiver room. Fred Moore was like sixth on the depth chart on a wide receiver room that had Samaj Morgan dropping 5 balls a game. Like, I'm really concerned with this wide receiver room after looking at it.
Yeah, we got the slot, I think, is our deepest one. We got Crenshaw McCray and then Braylon Collier. He's a redshirt freshman, pretty highly recruited. So I would say lean on McCray, Kent State, Golden Flash legend. Yeah, obviously you can be a little bit worried. Not a lot of actual play here, but I will say receiver position to a point. If you can run the ball, and kind of give Alessio a little bit longer leash to make easy reads, I think we're fine. Obviously you want a big name. I think having Nick Marsh back would have been pretty good and important just to have that safety blanket. But if you have a handful of guys that can make a couple catches a game, kind of lean on Golker. I wouldn't mind seeing him in the slot every now and again. He's pretty athletic. But really lean on that run game. I think Alessio probably throws the ball 15 to 25 times a game. And if it goes over that 25, 30 mark, obviously the run game ain't working. So I would be surprised if it's that. Maybe we're around 30. But yeah, I think we're a little bit worried. Lean on McCray. You got some guys that have played at other schools that haven't got a lot of touches, but I think we'll be all right. So see what we can do with McCray. Maybe move around Golker as well from tight end to receiver, and then maybe Fred Moore, somebody else steps up. You never really know, but make it easy on Alessio. Run the ball when you can, and hopefully these guys step up. I think that happens a lot with receivers. KB, you don't really know if you have a guy until you're in a game and you have a one-on-one and he makes a big catch. I mean, Jaden Reed, not a big guy. I mean, we all knew he was pretty good, but he stepped up. Obviously, he's a transfer from Western.
He was great at contested catches, like
for a
one
small
of the top
guy.
contested catch
So
guys
good.
I've ever seen.
So good for a smaller guy. We had Naylor too. He was pretty highly touted. So you never know though. I hope Collier he's kind of a name I heard last year was really good in fall camp. So I hope Braylon Collier steps up as well. But yeah, we'll have to see. I would say obviously big, touchdown McCray or big play McCray, so they say his nickname is. That's the guy you kind of got to lean on. Not a big guy, but a lot of played football. And then Bullard, I know he's from Valdosta State, but also, if there's ways we can do jets or bubbles, kind of do that RPO game, I think will be just fine, but definitely a big question mark. But that's enough for offense, KB. Let's go to the defense, which I think will be pretty good for us, but obviously it's all hype right now. I'm going to go to the line, and I'm going to be kind of quicker on defense. Guys that are coming back:
Yeah.
Ben Big Worm Roberts, Eli Conan, he's from Illinois, Derek Simmons, all decent guys at tackle. Um, and we got another guy from Toledo, so a lot of depth at tackle. Rush, shout out number one. This is something that Pat Fitz brought over from Northwestern. Number one on his teams embodies what it means to be, at Northwestern. It was to be a Northwestern Wildcat. At State, it's to be a true Spartan. It's going to be number one is Kenny Soares, who was recruited by Fitz at Northwestern, stayed there for a couple years, went to NC State last year, and now is was Fitz again at Michigan State. He is kind of a hybrid rush linebacker. I think they're going to have him at rush, though, with Anula Lafalele, who was
Yeah,
pretty
he's
high.
234.
Yeah, so they're rush guys.
So does that
Lafalele got
rushing edge?
yeah,
That'd be really
Lafayette
good.
got hurt, so he'll be pretty good too, I think, on the ed. And just want to shout out Kenny Soares. He's the number one. The team votes on that, which I think is a pretty cool tradition to start that Fitz did before at Northwestern. On the other side,
Is it always on the defense?
no, I think it's anybody. I think maybe even a quarterback got it. I'm trying to think. Maybe Kane Coulter did. Um, but I think it's just the players vote on whoever, and whoever gets it kind of thing. Um, on the other side, we have, I don't even know this guy's name, Keenis Thompson from Weber State, and a couple other guys. Another good returner too is Isaac Smith in his 6th year. So I think our D line's okay. Watch out for Kenny Soares. I think he's a good fit. He's a true Spartan dog. It sounds like already. And the D tackles, I think Ben Roberts, Eli Cohen, and Derek Simmons are a really good depth there. Get a little push in the run game, and then let Soares kind of put his hair back like Kenny Willekes kind of guy. Maybe Shalik Calhoun was a little bit bigger, but I think Kenny Soares will be very much a good disruptor, and then maybe he can drop in zone, kind of be that hybrid linebacker, because I think he played linebacker at NC State last year. That's all I got.
Nice. I'll go through my D line. I mean, I think for my defense, I'm excited to see what Jay Hill is going to roll out. It sounds like it's going to be pretty multiple in the same way that it was pre. I can't even remember his name. Wink Martindale. A little bit better at disguising things, a little bit smarter. He said it kind of, he was looking back at film, and 2023 Michigan is like what his goal is for this team. So D line, you got to talk about the transfer, John Henry Daly, All American from Utah, 10.5 sacks a season ago. Tore his ACL, is already back in camp playing. So most likely going to be the starter. The real question is who's going to be opposite him. You have a list of highly touted guys. Cam Brandt is making a lot of buzz. He's number 9. You have Dom Nichols, and then Nate Marshall was highly touted, high 4-star guy. Last year, he's going to be a sophomore this year. He played a decent amount. And then you're going to have Carter Meadows, who was a 5-star defensive end. I think one of the top recruits in last year's class behind Hyder. But he came in late. He didn't even come in the summer. I think he came in all the way at like fall camp. So we'll see how he looks. I'm sure they're going to have him, maybe some limited reps early. Don't know how necessarily that's going to play out. So kind of seeing what the depth you have, you have a known commodity, a guy that can rush the passer at Utah, but what is it going to look like behind them? Interior, you have Trey Pierce, Eno Etta. Both these guys are older guys, have been in the program for a really, really long time. Should be a good foundational guy. Behind them, you have some question marks. You have David Pale, redshirt sophomore. He's one of those short, stouter guys that's necessarily not going to be a pass rusher. Haven't seen him much from him. And then you have Jonah Leia, who's a transfer redshirt junior from Utah. So I think that's kind of going to round out the group. I think you kind of have a baseline where we're not going to fall off the cliff of D-line play, but you don't know if they're going to there's a lot of guys that have talent, but can they get that to be a really effective, efficient line? I don't know yet. It would take a lot of projection to say that, but you have a lot of hey, we know what we have. We know we have this minimum. Now let's see if these guys can actually, when they come up and play, be like this. You do have some depth interior after those 4. So we'll see. Hopefully injury bug doesn't bite them. And we'll see from there. I'll go linebacker next.
Please.
This is the biggest question mark from Michigan. They have lost 5 linebackers to the draft, 4 linebackers to the draft in the last 2-3 years. So a lot of turnover at that position. Ernest Hausman, obviously, his situation last year, people were talking about his 5th year eligibility. He will not be coming back. They're not pursuing him. But you have a former 5-star Nathan Owosu Boateng, true starter or true sophomore. That's going to be manning in there. Troy Boyles, who was a former Georgia guy. He's a redshirt junior. He played a good amount at times last year. And then the one guy that, or two more guys, Nathan Staling, who's an NDSU transfer. He's played a lot of football. He's had a really good impact with camp. Sounds like he's really smart. One of those guys that knows a lot about defense, played a whole ton of snaps at the FCS level. We'll see what he can do, not just in this group, because this is a very young group, but also what he's going to do, like impactful on the field. I'm excited to see him. The other one is Chase Taylor. He's a sophomore. He's 6'2", 237, so a real big guy. He played limited snaps last year. He played in 7 games. So I think those 4 are going to be the group. This is definitely the group with the biggest question marks. Not talent isn't necessarily a question here. I think Staling gives them a solid floor where they're not going to be one of the worst groups in the country, but you just really have that question of, hey, these guys that have all this, prowess, can they go out there, play at a high level consistently? Those 4 guys are the going to be the core of that linebacking group. Michigan's one linebacker that probably would have played a lot this year transferred to Oklahoma. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but we will see with this group. Definitely the group and probably all of the team that this is where everyone has concerns about internally. This is what the reporters are talking about. Hey, how's this team going to look? This is kind of where everyone's like, how is this group going to be able to come and play? And I don't know if that's representative of the play or just like, hey, we haven't seen a lot from this group. So that's one group to look out for the first couple weeks of the season of how they play.
What's your base formation, KB? Do you run 4-3, 4-2-5? You know?
I believe it's 4-2-5.
Yeah, that's what State runs too. It's kind of I'm a 4-3 guy. That's more run heavy.
Yeah, it's a 4-2-5 multiple.
Same here.
I mean, I think just in this day and age, I love the 4-3, but with how spread and open offenses are in college, you can't run it consistently. And I think the 4-2-5 just provides a whole lot of options because you can go big on inside and play maybe a big nickel that should probably be a safety. So you're really playing like 3 safeties instead of 3. So I like it. It makes sense for what college football is now because you're basically always in nickel packages. And whenever you run into like a true 3-4 where you have kind of 5 linebackers on the you have 3 down linemen and 2 other guys that are standing near the line of scrimmage, it kind of gets tough. But yeah, excited to see this defense work. Jay Hill's highly regarded. A lot of turnovers last year. Quist, how about you? What's your linebacker core looking like? I know we got the Spartan dog,
Jordan
the life
Hall,
that stayed around through all these changes. So
yeah. So not as worried. Having a guy like Jordan Hall back, I believe he's what's the big Bishop Gorman guy? I could be wrong. But he's been around for a while. He's a senior, true senior. He's played pretty much every year. Number 5, that's my favorite number. Shout out to that. So, we truly do have that quarterback captain on defense of Jordan Hall. So love that. Kind of interesting that he didn't get number 1. I don't think there's a lot to read into. I've heard a lot about Kenny Soares, just like he's got a crazy motor, very competitive guy. So that's probably why he got that. But Jordan Hall is that captain of the defense. And behind him is a transfer from Buffalo, who's also a senior, Deion Crawford. So I kind of like to see a little bit of depth if he needs a break, because I could see Jordan Hall being a 100-tackle guy this year, just knowing he is all over the place. We're 4-2-5 as well. So the outside guy is going to be Caleb Wheatland. He's an Auburn transfer. I believe he played a lot towards the end of the year, so that's kind of nice to have him. And I think Deion Crawford could play either role here on the linebacker core, so he could be spelling in for both guys. Brady Pretzlav is also going to be there. He's a Gaylord kid, so there for depth. And I know we got a couple of transfers, so I'm just going back and forth between some depth charts. Our lads has Cam Stogel as well. He's Albany guy, so if you didn't know, a lot of transfers from state were guys that produced decently well at FCS that came up. So, a good amount of depth here. And then I'm curious if Kenny Soares might drop back in coverage sometimes. He played linebacker. He's not a bigger guy on the D-line, but, feel pretty good with Wheatland being a 5th-year guy from Auburn. And then obviously you have Jordan Hall, true Spartan dog, staying. He'll be a 100-tackle guy. I'm kind of curious where he might go in the draft. I think he's pretty good. I think a lot of teams in the Big Ten would take him. So, I think that's a good pickup. And I'm pretty, he's going to be making plays at the right. He played really well last year too, banged up down the stretch.
Yeah, Cole Sullivan was the name of the transfer. He's one of those guys that really would have played a lot this year.
Mm.
But that's nice that you definitely have a group on this line. I mean, you kind of don't want 100,
I don't
tackle guy
want
from the
that,
linebacker
but
because that means
give me
your
80.
D line is, huh?
Give me 80 tackles then. He had like 86 last
Yeah,
year.
you get what I'm saying. Sometimes it's like, oh well, why did the linebacker have 100 tackles? Well, because the team got 5 yards every single rush and they tackled them 5 yards, downfield. But no, that's a
Top
very
four
good
guys
point,
are all
Quist.
seniors,
Now,
are all seniors, so a lot of depth. Top four guys.
oh yeah, that is a lot of snaps. It sounds like played between them two, which is always really important, right? Snaps means a whole lot, especially at the college football level.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm looking at your cornerback slash safety room and a lot of new faces. If you want to talk through that group, maybe a group that you have some questions about. I see Chuck
He's
Brantley is
back.
back on the roster as a transfer.
Didn't play at all
He's
at
been
Miami.
around since 2021 for sure. So let's talk about it, Quist. Let me know, what are we thinking about this cornerback safety room?
Yeah, Chuck, first and foremost, he went to Miami. I don't think he played much. Obviously, they made a long run in the playoff and lost in the Natty. So I'm glad that he's back. Obviously, he made a big catch in 21 against Michigan. A lot of transfers. Trey Bell, Iowa State guy. I think he's got some length to him, so I think that's a great pickup. He's 6'1", which is pretty decent size for a corner. Um, and then I think Chuck is going to start. Chuck is good, solid. He's not the biggest guy. He's pretty physical though. I think that's what you want to see. So feeling pretty good about Trey Bell and Chuck. When it comes to depth, Avion Gross, he's a safety, but he played a lot. He moved around a lot. And the other guys, I'm not too sure. I think we got some transfers. Najee Burt is from Eastern Illinois. And then on the other side, Tyran Chappell is from Buffalo. So there's some depth there, some transfers, but I feel pretty good with Chuck and Trey Bell. Safeties, we got Devin Vaught, who's also a transfer from Maine. So another FCS guy that probably produced that we're going to see if he can play in the big boy level. And then another guy that's been around for another season is Nakai Martinez. He transferred up last year. UCF guy, usually pretty solid. I think he's pretty good in the run game. And I think the pass game last year, he did get burned a little bit deep, but he's kind of a rah-rah guy too. I think having him and Jordan Hall in the middle of the field, free safety, middle linebacker is great to have good leadership, both seniors. So I feel decent about our secondary. It's been our Achilles heel, since the no-fly zone. That's 10, 15 years ago now. So we got to get back there. I mean, that is how we made, we played kind of press cover four.
Well, you can't pass interference every single play anymore.
That's
They'd
very
actually
true.
throw the flag now.
It's like the
I'm
Notre
just
Dame
joking.
game.
Yeah, that. Yep.
And they did throw a lot of flags. Could have a couple bad ones, but yeah, be a little aggressive. I'm okay with battling for the ball, at least turning, being in good position. But if we're getting burned left and right and we can't get any pressure, which is also another issue that we had, the secondary is going to get beat. You can only be on a guy for so long in college and the NFL. So obviously there's a lot that goes with pressure on the quarterback. And then good secondary play. I feel good with the starters. Trey Bell. We'll see if Vaught from Maine can do it. Nakai Martinez and Chuck are all great guys. I don't know what. And then at nickel we have another guy from Louisiana Tech and Khalil Majid, who's been on the team for a while. So a lot of transfers again, KB, and all the stars I'm looking at either seniors or juniors. So once again, a lot of snaps been played. So I feel decent about it, but this has been a group that has not been good for some time now. So they definitely need to get some step. They need to step up and make some plays. We need to get some pressure on the quarterback as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this group is going to be interesting. A lot of snaps played for this group. Rod Moore is returning. Sounds like he tried to play through some of the injury last year, played through some pain, and he finally had to sit himself down. So he's getting his final year. He's been around for forever. I think he's been around since 2020. He had 2 kind of years of medical redshirting. So hopefully he's back healthy. That's the safety. One of the other safeties is Chris Bracey. He's a Memphis transferring up. I've heard a lot of really, 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 really good things about this guy. Ball hawk. Sounds like Michigan got a kind of a steal on him. So hopefully he can continue to play. And then the cornerbacks are going to be who they are. Zeke Berry is going to be the left cornerback. Jair Hill is going to be the right cornerback. And then Smith Snowden is the transfer from Utah. Berry and Hill have been here for, I believe, 5 years for Zeke. He's a redshirt senior, and 4 years for Hill. They stayed with the program. They've both had a lot of ups, a lot of downs. I do like these guys. You're getting a solid, good group out of these P. You're not going to see absolute horridness from this group. And then there's a bunch of young guys. Shamari Earls, who's highly touted. He wears the number 2, high-end athlete, tall, rangy guy. You're going to see him rotate in. You have Jordan Young, who played some really key moments last year, Mason Curtis, and then Josiah Edmond, who's a redshirt sophomore. So I like this group, the first and the second group. They're really young behind the starters. The starters are redshirt seniors, redshirt juniors, really, really old group. And then the guys behind them are sophomores, but they got a lot of playing time last year. I mean, this defense gave up, I don't know, over the course of the last 2 years, 5,000 third down in 10 pluses. They if you had to look at the stats, it was maybe the worst third down in 7+ team in the history of the country of teams that won 9 games. I watched no less. I basically rewatch every game a few times in the offseason just because I hate myself and I love watching it.
Ball nowhere.
I rewatched the Texas game. They let up a 3rd and 22, followed by a 4th and 7, followed by a 3rd and 18. That put them down 7. The next possession, Michigan was picked off by Bryce Underwood threw a pick, and then the next play was a 75-yard touchdown. Michigan, who was down 3, is now down 17 in the midst of 4 plays because they are so bad at getting off the field. You saw in the Oklahoma game last year, Mateer would break 2 tackles, guys being undisciplined, 3rd down, extend a play. This group, this is the goal for this year, and this secondary I think is going to be really good. They haven't been picking the ball off the last couple of years. I think they've been really undisciplined under Wink Martindale compared to the guys before him. So I'm excited to see what this defense can do. Jair Hill has a lot of good tape. He puts on a lot of good performances, and then it's like a letdown. So seeing that consistently is good. And then it's going to be interesting to see how they fill the nickelback role because all 3 are currently playing, and they're like, oh, well, we can switch in all 3. Again, coach bullshit speak. No, you don't. There's one guy that's probably significantly better at the position. That's Smith Snowden, who's a transfer from Utah. I love seeing that kind of competitiveness, and I hope that one of these younger guys gets reps early in the season to kind of flush out this team, get a few more snaps to kind of full, because cornerbacks, it's very weird because I feel like safeties are never injured, and then cornerbacks, maybe because they're divas, are just always injured. There's always one guy that goes down with a sprained ankle, a wrist, anything. Obviously, legs are getting tangled, but they're one of those positions that I always feel like there's injuries. So it's going to be important to have depth at that position because one injury, you put the 4th guy out there that you feel comfortable with because I like all 6 in my DB room, and he immediately loses to a player that's way better than him, right? It's story as old as time. So excited about that group. And then I'll quick jump to special teams. I don't know any of the special teams guys. Looks like we got an Australian punter. Every single person in the special teams room is a transfer. Every single player. So you got Cam Brown, who's an Australian punter. Michigan has been pretty traditional from the punting aspect the last couple of years. They got a new special teams coordinator heading into the bowl game. He stayed on. Michigan's special teams has been hot, wet, dookie for the last 2 years. If you remember the Michigan Rose Bowl game, they tried to fumble the game away 3 times because of special teams. So they missed extra point, field goal, and they muffed 2 fumbles. And then the last 2 years, it was also really bad. I'm happy we finally got the special teams coordinator out of there. But whole new guys. We'll see. I don't trust anyone. I don't trust a kicker, punter, offseason hype until they actually get in the environment. They have 100,000 people watching them. They can't freaking feel their toes and they actually have to hit a kick. So we'll see.
Yeah, we got a lot of new guys too, KB, but I think we might have the best, or if not the best, special teams coach in the country. Coming from Iowa, I don't know how Pat Fitz got this guy, but he was at Iowa for 15 years. I think it's LeVar Wood. So this could be the biggest. I think special teams is massively important, very underrated part of the game. Obviously, we both have seen how that can play out for our teams, good and bad. We had a really bad stretch there where I think it was even so bad we snapped the ball over our punter at one point in time in the last 5 or 10 years. So shout out to that. Got to shout out our punter, Reese Dakin. He's an Aussie guy coming from Iowa, coming with this coach, which is cool. Our kicker's also a transfer from Charlotte, 5th-year guy, so he's got a lot of experience kicking. Long snapper Nick Dzaski, Oregon guy, returner, guy from Nebraska, and then Crenshaw McCray, and then some other guys in the returner game. But yeah, I'm looking forward to our special teams, KB. You don't say that a lot, but when you get a guy that is so well respected in the game as the guy from Iowa. I believe it's LeVar Wood is his name. Like, what a get! Might be the best hire that we have on our staff. So really looking forward to special teams, which is, you don't say that a lot, but when you have the best guy in the game, you gotta really shout it out.
Well, especially with where Fitzgerald wins his games, right? Like he usually doesn't recruit well. He usually doesn't have the best guy. He wins in the margins, right?
Oh yeah.
And special teams is one of those margins, which is why Iowa so consistently wins every game because they are so consistent special teams wise every year on punting, on blocking, on returning, that when you're playing these one score games, one of these special teams play. I mean, I think back to that Maryland game that you guys just, full gagged on and blew away. Like that was just like three special teams errors, like cost you the game. Like that's
Mhm.
it. Like there's dude, the worst players on your team. No offense to anyone who plays special teams, really important aspect of the game. But the worst players on your team weren't locked in, and you lost the game because of it, right? Like that's the reality of special teams. It's usually the third, fourth stringers who are just trying to stay on, keep the roster spot, maybe earn time on the field,
Mhm.
and those are the guys that have the ball in their hand in the most important moments of the game, important moments of the season when you need to ice games away. So.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I think it's a massive upgrade, but they got to still got to play the games. But let's do some notable games quick, KB. I know it's a little bit longer one, but we're breaking down. It's been a long time, so for me, I'll just go through the big ones. I mean, I'll talk about all the games quick, but I'll talk about the big ones the most. I have Toledo at home to start the year. That's a win. Eastern, Noah Kim. I think we start 2-0. Toledo might be scary. I believe their coach left. So they might not be as good as they have been, but Toledo's always been a solid MAC team. I think Eastern should be a win. And then third game, the battle for the megaphone is back, KB. We're going to South Bend. This is a game I do want to go to. We'll see how things are going at home with the fam, but it's been some time. I do think Notre Dame is probably a top team in the country that might beat us up pretty good. But if we can contend, keep this close, it would be a good thing for the year. I think we go 6-6.
Barometer. A good
Yeah, good barometer. I think
barometer.
we're between 5-7, 7-5. That's where we're going to end up. Nebraska to open Big Ten. I think that's a great game to see where we really are. I think we might edge out that one, but that'll be a good idea where we lie in the Big Ten. At Wisconsin, question mark. Illinois, they might be the better team there. Kattenhauser at quarterback, and then Northwestern, both games at home. Back-to-back former MSU QBs would love to get a win against the Cats. Aiden Childs, I believe. Chip Kelly's their old coordinator, which is very interesting. Obviously, Pat Fitz is against his old team. I think that's a fun game. Would love to get that win. At UCLA, travel game could be tough. We have a bye week. I like that. And then we're at Michigan. And I don't think we have it in us. A very interesting headlines to this one, KB. Two new coaches, not a lot of ties to the program. We'll see how that one goes. I think Michigan's got better talent right now, so probably leading with them. And then kind of a 2-game stretch has to be really tough. Both home games, though, Washington and Oregon. I don't think we win either one, but like I said, just like Notre Dame, if we can keep it close, I think a lot of people will be happy. And then at Rutgers, I think that's a win. So I think we're between 5-7 and 7-5. I think a bowl game is kind of the benchmark for this team, for this program. So we'll have to see. Obviously, we'll know a lot about the team in week 3 at Notre Dame.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Yeah, Michigan starts off with Western Michigan, which I know seems like a rollover. Western Michigan went 10-3 last year. They're returning their quarterback and their running back that both rushed for, I believe, 900 plus yards last year. Quarterback isn't very good throwing the ball, but a lot of misdirection. I think this is going to be one of those scary close games. Hopefully Michigan can, throttle them, but Western Michigan is looking to win the MAC this year. I know that doesn't mean that like, oh, if Michigan struggles, it's okay. No, it's more of like, hey, if this looks like a competent, well put together football team, that's because they are. They're not the bottom end of like you're playing Kent State, you win by 100. Mm-hmm. Then Michigan hosts OU. This is going to be one of those barometer games in the same way Notre Dame is week 3 for you guys. Michigan at home. Michigan has lost the first 2. Michigan has Texas next year. So these were the 2 big series that they scheduled. They had Texas. They lost at home. They went to OU. They lost. Now they're back home against OU. So hopefully they can pull out a win. I think this is going to be one of those really ugly offensive games that neither team really scores because both defenses are probably really good. Then Michigan finally gets a team that probably won't be great, UTEP. They have Iowa at home. Again, they probably start 2-1 is what I would start. They have Iowa at home. I like them there. They're just much more talented than Iowa. And Iowa, not at Iowa, is a way less scary team. So 3-1. They go to Minnesota for a Little Brown Jug. That's one of those scary ones. Minnesota always plays that 1 or 2 games a year. They're returning Darius Taylor, who Quist and
Really
I
good.
both like from a running back perspective. Drake Lindsey has to be better than he was last year, but that's one of those scary games where it's like, if you come off big win, maybe you beat OU, you're 4-0, you're riding high, and you have to play this weird at Minnesota game, probably night game. It's going to be one of those cold,
Maybe a little rain.
nights. So I don't know, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. They play Penn State at home. Um,
Interesting team.
I don't know anything about Penn State. My all thoughts are
Iowa State
disregarded
light.
until and they play three absolute nobodies to start the year, and I believe they don't play anyone till Michigan.
Hmm.
So I just want to see how good are they. Obviously, Rocco backed all of the Iowa State guys. Can all those guys transfer over, play week in and week out? Like half their rosters from Iowa State. So
Mhm.
we'll see. Then Michigan goes and plays Indiana at home. I'm not taking a win there. Really good team. Michigan plays at Rutgers, MSU home at Oregon, which traveling all the way to West Coast is difficult. Then after at Oregon, you have home UCLA, difficult game. I think UCLA is going to be decently good this year. Then you're at OSU to finish it. I think Michigan is going to have a better team than last year and finish with 8 wins.
Hmm.
They have a brutal schedule. Michigan
do.
plays all 3 of the teams that made the college football playoff from the Big Ten last year, and their out of conference game is another team that made the college football playoff. All those teams are returning their quarterback and or outside of Indiana, but so 3 of the teams are returning their quarterback. A lot of these teams are returning everything. They haven't had much turnover. Indiana's obviously the outlier. We'll see how Sig goes into another year of transition, but you got to believe what he's currently doing at that program is going to continue to keep moving forward. So they have a really, really, really difficult schedule this year. So they may win 8 games and it just be like, fuck, we won one of these games. Not like if they get to 10-2, that's going to be a really, really impressive season where they win 2 games where they probably shouldn't have. They're really, really talented, but OU's really good. Indiana's just super, super well coached. Oregon, OSU, and then you also have you can trip up on a game. MSU is going to play a strict brand of football. They're going to win in the margins. There's always opportunity for MSU to have one random dude throw for 350 yards, never plays another competent football game his entire
Rocky
career.
baby.
So there's always that. Iowa's not a team that you can take lightly.
Yeah.
Minnesota's a team, so they definitely got the short end of the stick. If you guys have a chance, please look at Penn State's schedule. Literally a mockery of college football. Conferences
Really?
are too big. Let's split the Big Ten between the East and the West. There's 9 teams in each conference. You play 8 games, 1 swing game, so you have 9 conference games. Anyone here for it? And we'll rename that Western Conference like the Pac-9 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be really cool. But it's a mess. So
Our
Michigan
schedule is pretty.
has a very, very difficult schedule.
Our schedule is a little, kind of favorable. We don't play Indiana. We don't play
8
Ohio
home
State.
games though. 8 home games.
That's
though.
insane. We're always 7 over here, but no Indiana, no Ohio State. I feel so good about that. Obviously Oregon, Washington, Michigan, Nebraska. I think there's a lot of teams that, are the middle of the road Big Ten that we can kind of see where we are. We got to take a step up. In the Notre Dame game, I don't think we get that win, but it really can show the country. Obviously, it's on NBC. Where we're trending. So I think that's a good game to kind of get a feel for the team.
That's a good point, Quist. You're going to either be looking up at all those teams you lost to that are probably 1 or 2 wins ahead of you, or you're going to be looking down at them, being like, oh, everyone. They're going to be looking at the end of the season, being like, oh, MSU beat all of the bottom teams on the schedule here, and they, still pretty difficult schedule, but they won a lot of those games. So definitely that. I think a middle of the pack year bowl game, like you said, Quist, is the standard.
We need it.
If Michigan, doesn't make a bowl game, I think 8 wins would be an acceptable output. I think 10 wins would be really, really good with the difficulty of this. I think 6-6 is the absolute bare minimum. Maybe Underwood gets injured and you're playing the backuppers. Something would probably have to happen to go 6-6 this year, just with the talent, right? You have such a high floor with the people that you're in, and this coaching staff obviously has been so consistent with a lot of these guys. They know how to coach, right? It's not like we handed the fucking thing over to Sharon Moore, a retired guy that got ran out of the NFL, and he was busy jerking off half the time. They still won 9 games. There's a lot of talent on this staff. So
for sure. Last thing, KB, let's do some sleeper teams. I got 3. I can just go over all 3 of them pretty quickly here. They're all a little bit different. and then we can obviously talk about anything else that's on our minds before we'll
Let's go
probably
one at
do
a time.
okay, one at a time. We'll probably take a week or go week to week until the season starts because I'm gonna have a baby in the house, so wish me luck. But my first team, kind of a favorite of mine for a while now, Louisville. Jeff Brom's still there. They went 9-4 last year. I know they had a Miller Moss, Miller USC guy. QB is the question mark. Big transfer guy. Lincoln Keenholz, believe he's the Ohio State guy. A lot of transfers in 48. They have a fun schedule. They play Ole Miss. Shout out Trinidad still being in there. They have SMU, Florida State, Georgia Tech, UNC, Pitt, Kentucky. If they can go 10-2, 11-1, and be kind of that team that rises in the ACC, and Lincoln Keenholz kind of becomes a quarterback, kind of like a Joe Burrow guy. Depth chart's crazy at Ohio State quarterbacks. They go somewhere else and they kick ass. That would be a similar storyline, in my opinion. A guy that's kind of buried and then goes somewhere else and makes it big. Louisville, fun sleeper team. Always been a Brom guy. Did a lot at Purdue. Obviously, knowing they're not that's a hard team to win with. So give me Louisville, first sleeper team. If they can go 10-2, 11-1, and kind of step up in the ACC. And I have another team in the ACC too, but we'll get there too.
I really like that. Isaac Brown is their running back, number
He's
one.
good.
He had 1,100 yards 2 years ago, 800 last year. He battled some injuries. He's one of the top running backs in the country. Really explosive guy. He averaged 8.8 yards a carry last year.
We talked about him last year.
Incredible. Not much receiving, but this team has a billion transfers, as is the way of Brom. But so if they can figure it out in the offensive end, really solidify their depth chart, I think there's some opportunities. And Brom, there's going to be a minimum standard that his offense is going to be able to put up just because he's that smart, that good as an offensive coordinator. No, I really like that. For me, I'm going to go ASU as the sleeper team. I like this staff. They had a horrible year of injuries last year. It is going to be Mikey Keene.
Oh, shit, really?
Very possibly. Yeah, he finally figured out his injury. It seems like whenever people leave Michigan, they're suddenly healed from all their injuries. I don't know what their medical staff is doing over there, but he won football games with Jeff Sims as the quarterback. And if you can put together, 8 wins, you have to be doing something right. And I think they're going to have more standards. I think they're going to have a better baseline with, a competent quarterback play this year. They start off early. They have A&M. I think that's going to be one of those key mark games where they go to A&M. If they can, last out there, play out there. They also had an awesome uniform reveal. The ASU,
they were great.
Rose Bowl throwbacks. They should wear those every game. I know they have the Adidas contract, and Adidas likes to, splurge out a billion different uniform combos. They really should just have that classic Rose Bowl look because it is that beautiful.
It's clean.
But this is one of those teams. Obviously, I'm out here a root for them. They have a huge home field advantage with the Heat whenever they can get home games here. So I really like this team. I think that the coach here is really, really competent. He knows what he's doing. Dillingham is going to be able to kind of continue to build, even with, again, they had Jeff Sims. We watched him play quarterback for 3 quarters at Nebraska. He had 7 turnovers, I believe, in like 6 quarters or something crazy like that, including 4 fumbles. Like, this dude couldn't play football, and they were able to win games with him at quarterback because Kenny Dillingham is that smart offensively, even with Sam Levitt being a total dickhead to the whole entire team, shitting all over the program. So,
Michigan State guy.
I think that there's an opportunity. I think there's opportunity.
Crazy.
Yes.
It's so crazy.
But I think there's opportunity for him.
I'm not one of my sleeper teams, but I've heard a lot of fun things about Arizona. Obviously, Fafita's back again. Doesn't have his receiver anymore, obviously, but it's his second year gone. But fun to watch both those teams, KB. But my second team, ACC team as well, big coaching hire, James Franklin. I think Vatek might be the best fit for him. I mean, they're going to have some money. Obviously, the stadium's pretty rocking. He's got his quarterback, Ethan Grockmeyer. He played down the stretch, I believe, after Aller got hurt. A lot of portal guys. I'm curious how their line and running back goes. I don't have a good schedule in front of me, but it seems like they have a manageable schedule. I think the ACC is kind of it's not as strong as the Big 12. The Big 12, in my opinion, KB, is always a question mark from top to bottom. But the ACC could be fun. Obviously, I just want to see. I'm not the biggest James Franklin guy, but Penn State just kind of, I don't even know what they're thinking. Good luck. And they're the coach. The last hire was them. They took forever, and they're the first team to fire a guy, I think. So I kind of want them to do well. in a sense of like 8-4, 9-3 in his first year, really turn around a fun program, and see what they can do. I think it's a good fit too, KB. He just kind of seems to be that kind of guy and bring over some transfers from Penn State and elsewhere. So it should be a fun 8-4, 9-3 kind of year. So a quick turnaround after going 3-9.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. For mine is Washington, Jed Fish's team.
QB
Obviously,
drama.
they're not one of the high end teams in the Big Ten. They have a decently difficult schedule. They have Oregon and Indiana this year, but they have a very manageable schedule outside of that. They play Michigan State, they host Penn State, they play Nebraska, Purdue, Iowa, USC. Is really going to be their big contention outside of Oregon and Indiana. Minnesota, Eastern Washington, Utah State, Washington State. If they get to 10-2 in this conference, they have a huge shot at it. Damon Williams, they were able to bring back. They have Rochuk, I believe, is one of their receivers. Difficult, but I think very manageable. I think this team has what it takes. I think their defense is finally going to be able to settle down and win some games. And they were really bitten by the injury bug at times last year. They were on like their fourth string tight end. They were on like think their third string guard, and that was game 6 against Michigan. They were really, really hampered with injuries last year. So I think there's an opportunity for this team to win some football games. And I really like what Jed Fish is able to do. And, I know Damon Williams had that drama in the offseason about transferring to Miami. He backed out of the contract. I don't know how they figured it out, but does that mean that he's going to be locked in for the season? I believe so.
He
So
signed the paper,
we'll see.
right? He signed it, right? Pretty
Yeah.
wild.
And then someone offered him $2 million more.
That's so crazy.
Miami.
Yeah, well, they got their guy Mensa late from Duke, but looking at Vatek's schedule here, quick, pretty, VMI, Old Dominion, Maryland, Boston College. That should be 4-0, I think. Pitt, Cal, Georgia Tech, Clemson.
Maryland's going to be an interesting one here with Malik Washington. That Maryland versus Virginia Tech game, I think that's going to be like one of those big games between those
rival?
two. That's like, it should be.
Could be. Georgia Tech, Clemson, SMU, Stanford, Miami, Virginia. So, 8 wins seems reasonable. The AC, there's a couple toss-up games, Virginia, Georgia Tech, Cal, Pitt, but there's, they could easily be 3-0 depending on how good Maryland is. So that's, we'll see what they do with James Franklin. And then one more, KB, I got a group of 5 team here. I love the hire. I really I wanted State to get the guy. Brian Hartline goes to South Florida, finally gets a head coaching job. Obviously, just being a recruiting menace at Ohio State forever. Their quarterback is gone, and Byron Brown to Auburn. So they have Michael Van Buren Jr. and Luke Kokenhook. So I'm kind of curious what it looks like. Golish built a pretty good team. He takes his team, obviously, most of those guys to Auburn. But the American Conference is nothing crazy. And obviously, I'm assuming Hartline coaches the receivers. I'm just going to look at their schedule quick because just to see where they might be.
Yeah, they have a huge crew of transfers.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of juniors. But a lot of senior transfers, redshirt senior transfers. I think the majority of them. So I think there's opportunity, but I just don't like a team that has a new coach that has this many transfers in their first year. Like legitimately, if you look at their roster, every single player is basically a transfer, which just can be good, but usually it's not like it'd be different. Where like I look at MSU with Fitzpatrick, he knows how to create a program. So if he brings a bunch of transfers in, Hartline's a first-time head coach trying to manage all of these things, right? If you guys remember correctly too, he used to be calling plays, and they literally replaced him with Chip Kelly, basically saying, hey, you aren't good enough to do this. You aren't a good enough offensive coordinator. Then when Chip Kelly left, they gave it back to him, and then Ryan Day had to take over too. So I'm not against this take. I think the receiver talent and stuff like that, and then the everything you said about the Americans, I just think it could be one of those seasons that like completely freaking blows up because you have a young coach who's never established a culture like that, trying to tie all these transfers in a culture, and it just doesn't, it just doesn't stick, and the team gives up after a loss and early in the season.
That's fair. Their schedule is kind of interesting, KB. I think they play a couple early conference games. I don't know if FIU is in the American, but they have FIU, Army's in the American, Delaware State, Bowling Green, Temple, UTSA, could be decent with McCown again at quarterback, Kent State, Then you got a decent stretch here. This is where the American will kind of be interesting to watch because you have UAB, East Carolina, Memphis.
Florida Internationals in the Conference USA.
Okay, so that's a non-conference game, but in state. Then down the road, you have
It's a
UAB,
rivalry game.
East Carolina, Memphis, Florida Atlantic, and Tulane, who just dropped some sick jerseys. I think that last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 game stretch will really see where we stand in the American. Memphis is usually decent. Tulane's been decent. ECU has, is one of those bigger schools down in that conference. So curious to see what that looks like down in the end. But I want to throw a fun sleeper team in. There's probably some, you could do Boise in the new Pac-12 or Pac-10, whatever. You could do Fresno. But I think watching what Heartland can do at USF is a fun pick. And if they have a receiver that just goes off for 1,000 yards, you wouldn't be surprised just knowing his, that's what he does. He's a wide receiver whisperer.
Yeah, his track record on talent, especially like in that area, like Florida receivers are traditionally crazy. CJ Hicks is a graduate transfer who didn't play much at Ohio State, who went with them. A few other guys followed him there.
Where's his
Or
quarterback
sorry,
from?
that was the defense. Sorry. But there's a lot of guys that followed him
He's an
down
LSU
there.
guy. I wonder if he's any good. Their quarterback.
And then Michael Van Buren was the Oklahoma guy,
Oh, is Oklahoma too?
I believe, or
Mississippi State and LSU.
LSU guy that filled in a couple times a couple years ago. But yeah, it should be interesting to see. My last team is Cal.
I love it. Good quarterback.
They have a really difficult travel schedule. They play 3 consecutive road games. There is a
Yeesh.
bye in the middle of that, which alleviates some of that, but that's a lot of miles, and they're all East Coast games.
Shout out
They
the
go
ACC.
they go to the 2 SMU, which 2 NC State and 2 Virginia. Like I said, there is a bye in there, but that's just a whole lot of travel, back to back to back weeks. Again, a bye, but still, they also have Syracuse away early the second week of the season. So that'll be kind of they play UCLA the opening weekend. Happy we have that rivalry game. That will be one of those benchmarks. And they have a great quarterback. And whenever you have a great quarterback and they return a lot of players, Duran Kwe Swagaputule, I believe his name is. And but like whenever you have a really, really good quarterback, it gives you a lot of hope and, gives you a lot of opportunities to win football games. And the ACC, obviously Miami's, heads and heads better because they spend the most money. They still haven't won the ACC in all their time in the ACC. I don't believe they've won a conference title since 2005. And they haven't, been able to do it. Now, does that matter? No, because all that is, if you get to 10 wins, they're so highly touted. They made the playoff last year. They had a huge run. But this is a Cal team that I think could sneak into the playoff or to the championship game of the ACC, win the championship game, and get an auto bid. So I really like this Cal team, hoping and rooting for them. I hate lefty quarterbacks fundamentally, but I root for them. It's one of those things where it's like you're bane of the existence. Left-handed people shouldn't exist. I don't know why they exist, but I want to root for you too. It's like one of those things. It's like you see something in the wild, and you're like kind of like, I want to root for them, like even though I hate them. I don't know. I have that weird thing in me, but yeah, really excited to see him continue to improve. He was by far the best true freshman last year. He absolutely rips the ball, strong arm, can make plays, extend. He looked so well and proper. And they got a new head coach. I think that they can put together a lot of good things there. So rooting for them to be successful. Cal obviously has a lot more storied football player history than you really think about at times. But
True.
Rooting for them.
Yeah, I love that. There's a lot of fun things happening, KB. Just kind of wrap it up. Obviously, with the new Pac-12, Pac-10, whatever you want to call it, with a lot of guys, a lot of teams coming over from the Mountain West, Boise, Fresno, Texas State, I think, and a couple others. And obviously, the Mountain West had to clean that up. So, North Dakota State comes over with a couple other teams.
Northern Illinois.
Yeah, what a weird choice that was, KB. Sacramento State being in the MAC. I mean, it doesn't matter where you live anymore. We can just pipe money if you're a football team. And I think Sacramento State has a weird revenue sharing thing because they just wanted to move up. And obviously, I think them being in the MAC won't be that long, maybe a couple years, and then hopefully they go to the big or the new Pac, whatever. Just because logistically it makes sense. But I love North Dakota State moving up. That was a team that everybody kind of liked to play in a dynasty online in college football. So looking forward to see how they do now that they're up. And then obviously KB, a lot of looking at Michigan State. Big Ten Media Days was a week or two ago. Just seems good. Pat Fitz is a rah guy. I think, it's if we're not winning, it's not going to be our favorite thing, but it's a nice to see after Jonathan Smith, who just kind of was a wet paper bag. I don't think he was a terrible coach, but just the time, the way things are now in 2025, 2026, you kind of got to win, at least make a bowl game. And he couldn't do that. Obviously, Jay Batt is also gone as well at AD. Our president stayed. We had a lot of drama in the administration. Shout out our board of trustees being shit. I didn't go to Michigan State, so I can
Same
say
with
it.
Michigan. So
Yeah, a lot of dumb drama. Obviously, neither of us went to these schools, but obviously, it means a lot to us. So, looking forward to it. Obviously, we will do our best to get into the season here once a week, and then obviously we'll be back on our moving and grooving preview, and then recap coming up here, KB. But it's good to talk ball for an hour and 20 minutes with you. Kind of fun to be back. I know we always take a long break. But we're busy people. So shout out to everybody listening. I know it's our friends and buddies, but spread the word. 2 fans, 1 Paul. I'm going to get that TikTok going again because KB's going to get us a clip again to go for 1 million views. And wish us the best with our family because we'll be in the hospital in a couple days here with number 2 right around the corner. So thanks again, KB. Good to talk. And as always, a big go green.
yeah, I couldn't have said it better, Quist. Absolutely appreciative of everyone who looks. And we got football, right? Week 0 starts August 29th. We have the Dublin game, North Carolina, TCU. Coming up, we will be previewing games just like how we always have. I think we're really going to make sure we focus on Michigan and MSU this year. Obviously, a lot of moving pieces, 2 new head coaches, hopefully moving in the right direction for the program, hopefully. And then obviously we have all the fun of rivalry week and all that comes with previewing games. So thank you guys as always for listening, and go blue.